You just realized that you needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other job sites. Indeed sponsored jobs help you stand out and hire fast. With sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates so you can reach the people that you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Plus, with Indeed sponsored jobs, there's no monthly subscriptions, no long-term contracts, and you only pay for results. How fast is Indeed? Well, in the minute I've been talking to you, 23 hires were made on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/BWN. Just go to Indeed.com/BWN right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/BWN. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
What's up, y'all? It's Drewski, and I've teamed up with Mountain Dew to produce a hilarious new basketball podcast called The Dew Zone with Drewski. Learn the backstories of your favorite ballers and celebrities like Jamal Murray.
Did you have like a favorite team? Was it the Raptors at the time or no? Was the Raptors even started around that time?
Come on, bro. I ain't that old, fam. You talking like I was 50.
Taylor Rooks, Asia Wilson, and many more. You won't want to miss this. Listen to The Dew Zone with Drewski on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts.
Today on The Timeline, our first guest. Imaginary NBA fights, and will Devin fall victim to the Kardashian curse? Welcome to the Timeline Podcast. My name is Mike. Sam, I'm so excited. How are you feeling?
I'm very, very excited, Mike, because we finally have our first guest. Only took us a couple of months, but we're really excited to introduce this guy.
Joining us today is the senior editor of MMAfighting.com, Shaun Al-Shatti, but most importantly, he's also a Phoenix Suns fan. Shaun, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, guys. I'm a huge fan of the pod, so it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I want to say, although I am not, I don't really have the time in my life to follow the MMA like I want to, or the UFC like I want to, but going through some of your articles and reading the stuff that you do, it's absolutely incredible. The idea of writing long-form pieces about MMA fighters and their story and the things that they're doing in the MMA has been incredible. I feel like I've learned a lot about the MMA through what you've been writing. I'm really impressed with what you do and how you write for the UFC. So I really appreciate what you're doing.
Oh, well, thank you, man. I really do appreciate that. And I can tell you're not a big MMA fan by the way you call it the MMA. I really like that.
As soon as those words came out of my mouth, I was like, shit, man.
I want to mention one of those articles real quick on my end, too, because as I was sort of cycling through some of your stuff, Shaun, one piece that seemed really relevant to me in the wake of this weekend's events in Calgary was a piece you did a few years ago on Jose Aldo.
Yes.
I think, let me pull up the article real quick. It's called The Night We Faced Aldo, and you sort of went through and interviewed a lot of his former opponents throughout his career, really gave a good look inside all sorts of things about him, from his technique to his demeanor to his personality. And so, yeah, I mean, I thought that was really cool reading that right now as he's fresh off his win over Jeremy Stevens this weekend. First of all, what did you think of that fight?
Oh, man, I was blown away by that fight, to be honest. Because, I mean, the Night We Faced Aldo piece was way back in 2015. That was right before he fought Conor. And so, Conor McGregor, obviously. And so that was just like a very crazy singular moment in time where it was peaking to this incredible fight that had basically been building for 2 years. And ever since then, he's had an incredibly rough run. I mean, he's lost. He had before this past weekend, he had lost twice in a row to Max Holloway, who's the current champion. And they were both brutal fights where he lost very badly. And coming into this past weekend, there was a lot of people wondering if we had really seen the best of Jose Aldo, and he was kind of on the downslope of his career. He's 31. but he's an old 31. Where in fight years, he's a lot older than that. He's gone through some wars, and the way he won, I mean, it's people who didn't see it. He just delivered this hellacious body shot to this man named Jeremy Stevens and just completely melted him. It was like a liver shot that just shut down his body. And then he just erupted into tears in the octagon and was crying, and it was an emotional scene. And it was hard not to feel good for that guy after sort of the past couple of years that he's gone through. He's basically the greatest featherweight to ever compete. And at this point, most people just know him for getting knocked out by Conor McGregor in 13 seconds. So to see him kind of come back like this was very cool. I know it was emotional for a lot of people.
Yeah, that was absolutely a really savage body shot as I watched the fight the day after. And then the other big event from that night was Dustin Poirier taking down Eddie Alvarez round 2 between those two guys. I have another question for you sort of regarding those long-form journalism pieces in general is just talk a little bit about what your goals are with those, because I feel like we're in a digital age of media where, I mean, you see so much emphasis on visual media and on doing things now like podcasting. So I think it's really a little bit more of a lost art form in doing what you do for MMAfighting.com.
Yeah, you know what? It's something I actually don't get to do now as much as I used to, and I want to keep doing it more. But I've always, I mean, I grew up reading Sports Illustrated every week. I would get that or the newspaper, just whatever. I would get my breakfast set up as a kid, and I would put the magazine or the newspaper in front of me and just pour through whatever the sports section was, and all these amazing writers, just Gary Smith and all these type of guys in Sports Illustrated. I grew up loving this kind of features and this kind of content, and it doesn't exist much anymore, and I feel like it's getting slowly phased out, which is very unfortunate because at least the way today's internet works, it feels as though you have someone's attention for about a minute and then they're going to move on to something else. But it is, I love doing those more than anything else I do. The long form type of long storytelling articles. I love that more than anything. And I hope it doesn't erase completely, I guess, from the sports lexicon. Like I hope in some way we can still have these preserved and continue to evolve and happen.
I think it's very important because with sports, one of the most important things is narrative. And for something like what you do, which is writing these long form pieces, it adds so much context to what we're seeing. And in order to create that narrative, we need people like you writing what you do. And I don't know if there's a lot of people that do that for the UFC or MMA in general, but I really appreciate what you do. But this is a Phoenix Suns podcast, so we got to talk about it.
Yes.
I think you're local. Are you in Arizona, Shaun?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I basically spent my whole life in Arizona, moving around just in various places in Phoenix. Right now, I live in Peoria. I'm currently up north in near Flagstaff, up in Mullins Park. So yeah, I'm always in Arizona. That's great, and I'm guessing that's how you became a Phoenix Suns fan, just growing up in this area. Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, I think as a kid, like a very young kid, I was obviously into sort of the Barkley years and things like that. But that was also the time when it was like spin out, and I was big into Michael Jordan, and as a lot of us were at that age. And then I kind of fell out of basketball, like I fell out of love with basketball. But then the Steve Nash years just really hit me at like the perfect time, like that early middle school, early high school era. And me and all my friends just went full balls deep into the Steve Nash era, man, and everything that went on with that era. I was so in love with it, and I've just been a diehard ever since. And it's basically just been the worst thing that's ever happened to me. It was one of the worst decisions ever. It's been nothing but heartbreak after heartbreak, but I still love him to the end, man. Yeah, I was about to say, how the last 8 years as a Phoenix Suns fan treated you? not very well. How have they treated you guys? I feel the same way. Although, it's kind of it takes a little bit of heartbreak in order to enjoy the good things that come. Just like you were talking about with Jose, it's the type of thing that adds context to when something good happens. When he won that fight at an old 31, all of the sort of the suffering that came before it made it that much more sweet. So I'm hoping that this number one pick will lead us to an era where we can actually enjoy watching basketball again. I like the way you frame that, because you're 100% right. With the night of the lottery, I was probably one of the greatest nights of my life. Like it was just stupid how happy I was for that. So yeah, I mean, I know it's been rough the past couple years.
Have you ever considered covering the NBA? I know that you've been writing about MMA for a while now, but is that something that you've ever been interested in, writing about the NBA?
You know, it's interesting because that was actually like my first job doing sports writing. Because when I was in college, towards the latter end of my college years, I realized that like college doesn't really prepare you for anything at all. Like in terms of the real world, it was a very weird realization. And so like the last year or two of college, I basically spent just trying to get as many internships as possible, doing things that may potentially interest me to try to like figure out where I was actually going with this. Mm-hmm. And one of the first ones I tried was I reached out to Seth Pollock, who at the time managed Bright Side of the Sun. And I just wanted to do anything that involved Bright Side of the Sun. I could be his intern, his coffee boy, whatever he wanted. And he ended up giving me an internship with a new thing that they were launching with SB Nation called SB Nation Arizona, which was supposed to be like a more of a broad type of Arizona all sports thing. And it didn't last long, but that was my intro to it. And so I threw myself immediately into trying to get on the Suns beat. And then I ended up doing some WNBA, the Phoenix Mercury beat, just to try to get reps doing it. And, I really enjoyed it. But one thing I kind of realized while doing it, Shaq is a big dick. Like he's a huge dick. I hated dealing with Shaq, but that's neither here nor there. And then B, like when you're doing it day to day, it's very easy to, for the love of the sport to kind of get on the back burner. Like it started to feel more like a job. And now that MMA is my actual job, as soon as I guess I switched to MMA as my actual job, it felt like my love of basketball returned and it wasn't as much of a grind. If that makes any sense. So I don't know that I'd want to go back to it.
You cannot just brush over the fact that you have interactions with Shaquille O'Neal. We need stories.
I thought he was talking about Shaq Harrison.
What makes Shaq a dick?
Oh man, he used to have this thing. Seth would probably attest to this too. He's an enormous man, the biggest man I've ever seen in person in my entire life. But his voice, he would talk real low and real deep. So you would have to like really put your recorder like right next to his mouth to get anything recorded, or so you could get the quotes later. And that man is a very sweaty man. He is ridiculously sweaty. And so he would purposely, what he would do is he would wait until you put your recorder, his club, to his mouth, and then he would kind of like move his body so he would basically be hovering over you and just giving you a nice shower of his sweat. Every day.
What does he smell like?
Sweat.
Well, yeah, but I need more than that.
He smells like a sweaty large man. I don't know.
Wow, Shaquille O'Neal. I'm not surprised that he
never meet your
probably
heroes.
enjoyed. He probably enjoyed that sweat slowly dripping onto someone. It is an alpha move, I have to say.
Oh, it's a total power move. But it's like, what am I going to do? I'm like a 21-year-old kid trying to get these quotes.
Didn't Shaq choke out Gordon Giricek in a playoff game? Do you guys remember that?
That sounds familiar.
The news article came out. I think this was 2008 off the top of my head. Someone's going to tell me I'm wrong later. But 2008, we just lose to the Spurs. And then, he chokes out Gordon Giricek after a playoff game or something. So, it wouldn't really surprise me at all to learn that the guy's a dick in real life.
Well, I guess if he's choking out people that he sees on a daily basis, then a little bit of sweat isn't so bad.
And he enjoyed the sweat. He enjoyed the sweat showers too. He knew exactly what he was doing.
Well, that makes sense. I could see when you're that big and that famous, you probably get enjoyment out of some weird things. How do you feel about this most recent offseason? The Suns, the moves that they made, Trevor Ariza, the number 1 pick, DeAndre Ayton. First of all, were you a DeAndre Ayton or a Luka Doncic guy?
Be careful now.
I mean, at this point, we're all Team Ayton, right? Like, we're all on the same team at this point.
We are.
We're all DeAndre Ayton guys now.
Yeah, like I'm a diehard Ayton guy now. But I will say, when I started the season, I came in as a heavy Luka Doncic guy. And then as DeAndre was sort of doing what he's doing at U of A, I started becoming more Team Ayton. And then they had their early flame out against Buffalo in the tournament. And meanwhile, Luka's over here just destroying Europe. And so I leaned back more towards Luka, and by the time the draft came, I was really all aboard Team Luka, and I was actually a little upset that we got the number 1 pick because I figured we would pick Ayton, and I thought I was kind of wanted us to get 2, so we would almost be forced into Luka because I thought the threesome of him and Book and Jackson all being ball handling wings like on the perimeter would have just been the most incredible form of free flowing basketball. But hey, man, I mean, I'm certainly not going to complain. Like if you would have told me 6 months ago, 8 months ago that we're going to end up with DeAndre Ayton, I would have been over the moon, and I still am. Like I am a huge fan of what's happened this offseason. I feel like this was a really important offseason, and Mikal Bridges wasn't even on my radar at all. Like I kind of had a blind spot because we had obviously 16 and then 1, so I had like a lot of people looked into for 16 and 1, but I didn't have that middle range checked out, and so I had to do a little bit of research on him. But I love what this offseason's been so far.
Yeah, I think this is the first time in a while where I feel like Suns fans are kind of on the same page. We're all excited to see what comes next season, but that's been a scary thing in the past where I've been excited about some seasons that ended in disasters. I don't think that this season will be like that. I think they're made moves to actually be good. We were trying to be bad for a few seasons, so it's going to be interesting to see where we go from here. I have to say, though, you said you're excited about every move in the offseason. There's one move we have to talk about. Devin Booker is now dating Jordan Woods, who is a Kardashian-adjacent person. Now, we know about the Kardashian curse. It's afflicted many athletes in the past. Is there a Kardashian-adjacent curse? Is this something we have to worry about?
Does that curse apply to non-Kardashians?
Oh, that's a good question. Here's how I feel. I didn't know who she was until he started dating her. But I also find it
good credit to him. I didn't say it, but once I looked her up, hey, credit to him.
Yes. Congratulations, Devin Booker. I think you're making a good decision here. But one thing I find interesting about all of this is nobody cared about Devin Booker as far as the LA crowd, the Kardashian-adjacent people, until he signed that $150 million contract. I don't know how big of a coincidence that is there. Be careful, Devin. Be careful.
My only reaction there is, I really don't care who these guys are dating. I'm right there with you, Mike. I didn't know who she was until this news about Devin Booker's dating Jordan Woods. Yeah, I don't give a shit, and I don't think the curse is going to apply to him. I think we're going to see Devin Booker absolutely cook fools next season. And there's another article that I think we're going to talk about a little bit later about even some sleeper MVP.
Let's talk about it now.
You want to talk about it right now?
Let's talk about it. Yeah, Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer. Kevin!
The KOC, the only national writer who even seems to give any kind of a shit about actually paying attention to the Phoenix Suns.
Yes, thank you.
Exactly.
You know, this is a guy who knows.
So Kevin O'Connor, he wrote an article about potential sleeper MVP candidates. It included names like Victor Oladipo, Kawhi Leonard, whatever. But
keyword sleeper. These are not favorites for the MVP naturally, and that's where sort of Devin plays into this as well.
Well, yes, he listed Devin Booker, but I'm sorry, Kawhi Leonard was a top 5 player in the NBA, so calling him a sleeper MVP candidate, I know the odds say what they are, but he's still an amazing player, so I don't know how much of a sleeper
I could name like 7 or 8 guys. If we're just going to quickly jump into this before we talk about Devin, I think I can name 7 or 8 guys off the top of my head who are probably better MVP candidates than Kawhi.
Well, now you have to.
All right. Fucking count them up. Let's see. LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's 7 right there, and I think that's a very reasonable 7 to have ahead of Kawhi.
I think that's fair. That's a very fair list. But Kawhi Leonard first of all, he's in the East. There's a good chance that, I know we talked about Toronto in the last episode, there's a good chance that Toronto could win 60 games next season, and if they win 60 games, that's a shoo-in for an MVP discussion. I mean, we saw it happen with Kyrie Irving in Boston. It's easier to win games there. But the point of this is a Suns podcast after all. Kevin O'Connor included Devin Booker as a sleeper MVP candidate. I don't know about that. What would Devin Booker even have to do to be considered an MVP candidate? What would the Suns have to do?
I mean, the Suns would at least have to win like 48 games, right?
Yes.
Like it would have to be something crazy, like in terms of turnaround difference from one year to the next.
And here's evidence of that. Like you go back, remember how Kobe fans say that Kobe deserved Steve Nash's 2006 MVP.
No.
But I want to bring it up for this reason, because you go back and you look at the actual voting for that, right? Kobe is not second place in MVP voting for that season behind Steve Nash. LeBron James is, with a 50-plus win team in Cleveland. Kobe Bryant is not in third place behind Steve Nash. Dirk Nowitzki is, with a 60-plus win team in Dallas. Kobe actually came in fourth place for MVP voting that year because he could only drag that LA team to like 44, 45 wins. And I think that there is the best evidence of the fact that, look, MVP has never been and probably never will be about who the best player on the face of the planet is. If that were the case, then LeBron James would be sweeping it every year. But voters love narratives. And so if Devin Booker can lead a 30-win turnaround and take this Suns team from like 21 wins to 50 wins, minimum 50 wins, I would say, something like that, then he's definitely going to be in contention. But 40, 45 wins just isn't going to get it done.
I agree with that. I also think it's just, well, here's a good way to think about it. The Suns won 48 wins recently, and all it got was Goran Dragic on third-team All-NBA.
But Goran Dragic didn't deserve MVP that season, I mean.
No, but it should be pointed out that that's all it got us. So even 48 wins.
It got us some serious nods for Jeff Hornacek as potentially being voted Coach of the Year. If Kokoshkov got that type of turnaround in his first season as Suns coach, we could see the same sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that's a lot more likely. I think a lot of this MVP narrative, which is not just KOC, it's also I've seen it on Twitter and on Reddit. It's from Suns fans, just sort of starting that narrative. And we got the king of narratives, Shaun, on the podcast right now. I think a lot of it's related to his practices on the Olympic team, the sort of Team USA Select team, as they're called. What we've got to see is Devin Booker playing one-on-one against absolute legends. We've seen him play in Kevin Durant. That was the main clip that I've seen over and over again. He's playing Kevin Durant in one-on-ones. And when you see Devin Booker against Kevin Durant in one-on-one, what you're essentially seeing as an NBA fan who is a fan of narratives, you're seeing them on the same stage. You're seeing them looking at each other eye to eye. And that means, in a lot of people's minds, is this the next Kevin Durant? I think that's kind of where it's coming from. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think in general, it's been cool to just see. Cause, I mean, this is a 21-year-old kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's still, people forget how young this guy is, and just in general. But the one thing that I'm really excited about from this whole Team USA experience is it always seems like the young guys in particular leave this experience having gained some level of understanding of just how to elevate their game to the next level. Like, what is Russell Westbrook doing that makes him great? What is Kevin Durant doing that makes him great? Just being around those guys and being in that environment feels like it can't be nothing but a really helpful, successful tool for Devin to take back to this team, basically, of kids and sort of implement around, right?
Yeah, and actually to sort of echo your point there, it brings up, there's an article, got to source it properly, from Arizonasports.com from Jordan Kay, talking about what Booker has learned from his experience, and it's exactly what you were just saying, Shaun. There's a quote here from Pistons forward Blake Griffin. Obviously has made a bunch of all-star appearances, who was asked about Booker. He said, Devin's an unbelievable player and belongs, and I think he knows that. There's not a guy here who you look at and you kind of think like maybe he's nervous or anything like that. He can hold his own against anyone. So first of all, Booker's going in there, he's being a sponge, trying to, absorb some of this knowledge from that coaching staff and from all of those all-star players. But also he's earned this sort of mutual respect at this point from these other players where they can really tell that he's going to be a real deal in this league, which is a good thing for us.
Sam, I know that you have some notes on the last time there was a Phoenix Sun on an Olympic team. Do you want to go over a little bit of those?
Yeah, I'll do a quick breakdown. I just thought this was funny more than anything else. Let's throw a quick throwback to the 2004 men's Olympic team, which was the last time, of course, since Steve Nash was not American. The last time the Suns had representatives on the Olympic team was Shawn Marion and Amari Stoudemire. And this was an overall disaster. I don't know if either of you guys really remember it much off the top of your heads.
Oh, yeah, that's the bronze medal.
That's the bronze medal
Mm-hmm.
in Athens, Greece. They went 5-3 as a team. They lost by 19 points in their opening game to a Puerto Rico team led by Carlos Arroyo and no other NBA players.
Ouch.
And this was so bad. The average age of the team was 23 and a half years old. Half of them couldn't rent a car. Many of the players feuded with, at the time, Detroit Pistons coach Larry Brown. The two captains of this team were Allen Iverson and Tim Duncan, which is hilarious to think about given the completely polar opposite leadership styles of those two players and trying to imagine them with their own leadership styles in practice, or if Allen Iverson was even there at practice. And then, Stephon Marbury, who was also on this team, told Complex in an interview years later that it was the worst 38 days of my life, end quote. So
Wow.
I just really think this was really funny that this was the last time the Suns had any sort of representatives on the Olympic team. Since then, the U.S. has not lost a single game in the Olympics in 2008, 2012, or 2016. But I think it's also important to note that Marion and Stoudemire didn't make any more appearances after 2004, and there's probably a reason why.
Mm-hmm. I have to say, though, would you rent Stephon Marbury your car?
No, no, not for a second. Wasn't he? Was he Vaseline by then? Were we at that portion?
That was
Stephon
pre-Vaseline.
Marbury? That was pre-Vaseline Stephon Marbury.
That was pre-China legend.
I like how that's how you judge Stephon Marbury: pre-Vaseline and post-Vaseline. That's how you discuss him.
Well, post-Vaseline seemed like a real glory years for him. He has a statue in China after all. So
That's a good point. There's a musical about him.
Let me ask you guys, what do you think? Because I was thinking about this yesterday. Like, what do you think the chances are Devin actually makes this team? Because it's a 12-man roster.
I
right?
I have all of the guys who are invited. If you really want me to read out 35 names, I can do it.
Well, Sam, I don't know if you have it organized like this, but who do you think of those 35 guys is a lock to make the roster? You have the list in front of you.
There's 35 guys. You're asking me who's going to be a lock out of these 12? Isn't it easier if I say who's not a lock? Like Harrison Barnes isn't making the final cut. Okay, there's a bunch of guys who I think Devin is better than at this point, and then there's a couple guys who I think Devin is better than, but the national media hasn't caught up to the premise of him being better than.
Who are those guys? Let's say who are on the fringe like
CJ
Devin?
McCollum is a guy.
Devin's better.
Mike Conley, Kyle Lowry. Like, I think Devin is better than those players at this point, but I don't think other people necessarily believe that. Like, is Greg Popovich gonna make that call? Would he rather have Devin Booker than CJ McCollum, Mike Conley, Kyle Lowry, guys who are more proven?
Also, isn't there an element to it where it's not even just like he would rather have them, but it's he would rather have them in 2 years because that's when the actual Olympics is.
Yeah, well, so
That's
this is not only for the Olympics in 2 years. Also, they're having the FIBA World Cup next year, and that's in 2019. Okay. So it's. But they can have slightly different teams, for the two. Like people come in and drop out all the time. I don't know if you guys remember the 2014 FIBA World Cup. I don't even remember where it was off the top of my head. But those events, I mean, let's be honest, FIBA is less prestigious than the Olympics when those come around every 4 years. So you had guys like Mason Plumlee and Kenneth Faried representing Team USA for that. So if enough guys drop out, look, I think Devin can definitely make it, at least for the FIBA team. But for the Olympic team, if the U.S. is really trying to send their best players, it's going to be hard.
But wasn't the coach of that team Coach K?
Yeah. This is a first cycle where Pop is taking over, finally, for Coach K.
I'm willing to say that there is absolutely no way Mason Plumlee would have made that team without Coach K being the coach there. I think that had a little bit of something to do with it, just to guess. But Kevin Durant, I believe, was the main sort of headliner of that team. So they still had at least one superstar on that team. I think that there's a chance that Devin Booker makes it, but I think that a lot of it will have to do with how he plays in this coming season. If he increases his playmaking ability like we all want him to do, we all want to see point Booker, that type of thing will be the type of thing that could get him into that game. And if you notice, a lot of the highlights of Booker there's two types of highlights that come out of these camps. The first one are the one-on-one highlights, which who really gives a shit about that? Really? Because these teams are not going to play one-on-one basketball. So yes, well, it's fun to see these stars play one-on-one, but what really matters is how they're going to play as a team. And the other highlights...
It's not even fun. I just want to say, please don't go look up the video of Kevin Durant and Devin Booker playing one-on-one. They're doing a one-dribble drill where it's literally just 3 minutes of them jab stepping at each other. And Kevin Durant has a wingspan a foot wider than Devin Booker's anyway. So it's not fun watching these guys do these drills. Sure, we're getting these puff piece articles out of it, but it is not compelling basketball at all.
Yes, exactly. So the real thing is how they play as a team. And when you're playing on a team with a bunch of other stars, you have to have the ability to play make for others, because when you're playmaking for others, unlike when Devin plays on the Suns team, you're playmaking for someone who can legitimately score the basketball. So if you notice the highlights of when they're playing as a team, Devin Booker's doing a lot of passing, and I don't think that's a coincidence. I think he's trying to sort of get into that role where he could be a little bit of a playmaker and get on that team. I don't know how possible it is. I'll be honest, if I had to set the odds, I don't think it would be very likely at this point. But I really hope he does, because it would be really fun, especially next year to watch him in the FIBA tournament. That would be a really fun thing to see.
Yeah, I think that's maybe like the first step, right? Like if he can get into the FIBA team and then he really shows out and does well, I feel like that's kind of the performance that can stay in people's minds that control that team, whether it's Popovich, whoever's selecting him, and they can maybe keep that locked in and maybe, I don't know. I don't know. I'm really excited for Devin to just be around Popovich, I think. Just that motion offense and just like another basketball genius. Like this dude's been around Earl Watson and fucking Jay Triano and all these guys his whole career. It's like to actually get him around Greg Popovich and maybe like a Koskov. Like it feels like so much more could be unlocked.
Just don't let him spend too much time around Pop, or else Pop might put his soul in the soul box.
I just want to point out that just the mere mention of Earl Watson is now a punchline on this podcast. We all started laughing just at mentioning his name. I'm sorry, Earl. You seem like a great guy, and when we met at Summer League, you were nice to me. So, for whatever that's worth, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna play a game. We're gonna talk about how some NBA players would fare at MMA fighting. We'll be right back. All right, and we're back. Okay, so we have a really fun game that we're about to play. Actually, you know what? Before we start to play this, let's talk to Shaun a little bit about some MMA fighting and how it relates to basketball.
Well, yeah. All right. So, Shaun, first of all, I'm curious, how are these your two favorite sports in the first place? Because stylistically, they're so different. I mean, are you the type of guy who watches basketball looking for those enforcer type guys and those fighters? Or are you really trying to, do they bring different things to the table for you as sports?
That's an interesting question that I've never really considered. I feel like I'm just generally a sports fan. Like I'm big into pretty much any Diamondbacks, Cardinals, whatever sport you name, I'll probably just have a passing interest in it at least. But basketball, I guess I played a lot of basketball growing up. And again, the Steve Nash era just really drew me in and I never left. And then fighting, I don't know. I feel like you got to have some kind of sick, twisted gene in you to really like do anything in this industry for a living. And I there's nothing I enjoy more than watching fighting. So like whatever that gene is, I must have it. So I certainly can appreciate the type of Horace Grant, Dennis Rodmans of the world that don't really exist anymore in the NBA. But
no,
those
don't.
guys, I used to really dig those guys.
How do you feel about Draymond? I mean, it really feels like there aren't enforcers the way there used to be.
The mere mention of his name almost just had me say fuck Draymond. I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty anti-Warriors.
And you were allowed
like,
to do
whatever
that on
they're
this
all
podcast.
about. Like you can ask me any Warriors question, whatever they're all about, I'm gonna have a pretty negative reaction to it.
Are there any players in the NBA that you look at and say, that guy's legit, that guy could legitimately be a fighter in MMA, in the UFC, or however you want to look at it?
See, it's interesting, right? Because like I feel like a lot of the NBA athletes, if they would have actually gone to MMA, would it be such incredible heavyweight champions, basically? Because just like if you get like a Brandon Ingram type or like anything like that, where it's a dude with a crazy wingspan, like that would translate so insanely well to fighting. Just being able to keep someone at the end of that wingspan and that long jab and whatever kind of teep kicks and anything like that. Always the big long guys seem like they would really translate the best. Or like Nikola Pekovic types, where it's the big giant enforcers. Although I think it'd be pretty difficult for them to get under the heavyweight limit of 265.
Well, for the purpose of our game, we're gonna throw out that limit.
I like it. Let's do it.
Actually, none of these guys are even going over our limit. Well, I don't know. I mean, unless we want to, Boban Marjanovic might be over 265 pounds now that I'm looking at the list, being the bridge troll that he is. But for the most part, I think these guys are well within their divisions. So yeah. So the way this is going to work is basically we have an MMA fighting expert, a combat sport expert with us here on the pod. So Mike and I are going to choose NBA players in each division. There are no flyweights in playing in the NBA. There are no featherweights or lightweights either. There might be one lightweight or two. In fact, like 2/3 of the NBA would be in that heavyweight division. And I should have thought of that before I came up with this idea as a segment, but I didn't. So we're just going to throw all those guys in the same pile. Mike and I are each going to choose some NBA players or an NBA player from each division and throw them in an octagon together and argue about who would win. Since these are hypothetical battles and they won't actually happen, as far as we know, Shaun is then going to decide who would actually be the winner.
It should be said that there are no flyweights under 125 pounds, 125 pounds in NBA history, at least as far as the information that we're allowed to look up for this. The lightest player ever in the NBA, a trivia for anybody that ever wants to bring this up, is Spud Webb, of course, who was 133 pounds. So even the lightest player in NBA history is not a flyweight.
We need to shove Demetrius Johnson into the NBA.
Wait, hold on. He was 133 pounds?
That's right. Can you believe that?
Oh my God. He could easily cut weight to flyweight then.
He could.
Because these dudes aren't walking around at 125. They're walking around like 145.
He absolutely could. I don't know how good of a fighter he would be with a wingspan that was about 3 or 4 inches, but it would be interesting to see him in a fight. So we got to skip all the way to middleweight, right?
Yeah, we got to skip all the way to middleweight, 171 to 185 pounds. And as Shaun was just saying, these guys are walking around at whatever they are, so they could easily cut into different divisions. But for the sake of this, here's the first guy I'm going to throw in, Patrick Beverley. Ooh. And let me just throw out some of the measurables here. We've got a guy who's 6'1", he's got a 6'7" wingspan. Oh. That's basically what you're going to hear about from all of these guys in the NBA. I wish I had the official reach stats so we could actually see like what sort of reach they could get on those jabs, but you can't. And yeah, Pat Bev is coming right at the top end of that division at 185 pounds, but this guy is just a hawk defensively. And yeah, I mean, everyone knows his reputation. He hassles guys constantly on defense. He is great. Here's the thing. Before I go any further, here's the thing about fighting in the NBA, right? I haven't actually seen Patrick Beverley fight, but if there's anything that I think might be translatable, if we were going to throw this guy in and actually have him fight, given that he has no training, is the fact that just him having great reaction time, great basketball IQ, being able to figure out what an offense is doing before it actually happens. I just feel like that would translate really well. So I definitely want a defensive enforcer type like Pat Bev coming in on my end of the ring. So Mike, who you got?
Wrong. Okay, first of all, if you're talking about someone who's got the brain for it, then I got the perfect player for you. It's Rajon Rondo. Rondo, he's 6'1", he's also 185. So yes, similar size, but he has a 6'9" wingspan, which makes a lot of sense if you've seen him. His arms go down to his ankles, essentially. And he's one of the smartest players ever. He's established Connect Four genius, so clearly he understands game and game theory. He's always one step ahead. He understands how to be always ahead of everyone that's in front of him, and he's able to, maybe he'll be able to dodge some punches. He's got a longer wingspan. Also, he's a champion, and he's performed really well at the highest stages of the NBA. So I got to say, Rajon Rondo versus Pat Beverley. First of all, that would be insanely fun to watch.
Yes.
How do you feel about this fight, Shaun?
Oh my goodness, you're giving me a tough one right off the bat. So a couple things, right? You mentioned Rajon Rondo's ability to like perform in the clutch. I think that's really important because when you walk out to that arena, there's 30,000 people screaming and the lights come down, and it's just you and that person inside this cage and you're about to fight. Like, that's a very weird moment, and I think someone really needs to be able to perform in the clutch for that moment, especially if it's their first time. However, I do think the biggest, most important thing to being a successful fighter is just being mean. Like, the ability to just be super mean and super grimy. And I think Pat Bev would be the epitome of just a bulldog in there. Like, he would be doing all sorts of weird veteran tricks, tugging on ears, covering somebody's mouth, just doing whatever he needed to do to get an edge in that fight. I think Rajon's maybe almost too much of a thinker. Like, he would probably be trying to outthink himself in there, while Pat Bev would just be moving forward, getting takedowns, working ground and pound, just smothering Rajon Rondo. I think Pat Bev takes that.
Can we also just not pretend that Connect Four has any bearing on how well this guy would do?
It's an important Rajon Rondo fact. When the documentary is made about Rajon Rondo and his career in the NBA, there's going to be a 5-minute segment on Connect Four. You can guarantee that.
Yeah, I guess so. All right, so I'm up 1-0. You ready to move on to the light heavyweights?
Let's do it.
All right, this one's fun because it's a couple of sons, actually. One former son and then one current son. And for my side, you talk about Rajon Rondo, you talk about a genius. Actually, you were just saying, Shaun, that you wouldn't pick Rajon because he was going to overthink it. Well, I got the perfect guy for you, someone who's not going to think about it at all. And I'm talking about I don't want to be here, Eric Bledsoe. 6'1", 6'8" wingspan, 205 pounds, again at the top end of that range. Yeah, just Mike, throw whoever you got at me. I'm taking Bledsoe in this one.
Well, first of all, I've seen how Eric Bledsoe performs in the clutch, and I don't think that there's any chance that Eric Bledsoe is going to perform well against who I got, because I got Josh Jackson. He's 6'8", he's 200 pounds. Yes, he's not as beefy as Eric Bledsoe. He weighs a little less, but his wingspan is longer. It's 6'10". And Josh Jackson, we've seen it. He's got the ability to be mean. We've seen him do it in the NBA. We've seen him do it in college. And he's just one of those guys that likes to get down and dirty. He's not afraid of the physicality. And he's not going to run away when things get tough the way Eric Bledsoe did. I don't believe that Josh Jackson has that in him. So I got to say, Josh Jackson's got to be the winner in this, but it's not up to me. So, Shaun, what do you think?
So in MMA, the judges are just generally bad. Like that's a common phrase in MMA is you never let the fight go to the judges because the judges could be all over the place. You don't know what they're seeing. None of them ever really train. Like they don't know what they're watching. They're just going off who they think is better or who they like more. And in this case, you're putting me in a corner because I really, really dislike Eric Bledsoe, and I really like Josh Jackson. So I'm gonna go ahead and say the motherfucker takes this easy. First round knockout.
Come on, Josh
Easy
Jackson is
work.
noodles.
Clean
He's 6'8".
work.
He's
Nope.
got high center of mass. I'm saying Eric Bledsoe would knock him off balance instantly.
I had the advantage here because he's a Suns fan after all, and no Suns fan is going to pick Eric Bledsoe to win any contest at this point.
He said
was your first
he wanted
mistake.
someone who's not going to think. I gave you someone who wasn't going to think. That's all I'll say. But that being said, we'll move right on to the heavyweights. And again, this is the majority of the NBA, 206 pounds or more. This one, Shaun, I already know you're going with me here, okay? I barely have to. This guy will kick your ass, all right? He'll kick all three of our asses combined just by looking at us. And of course, I'm talking about James Johnson. Now, for people who don't know about James Johnson's background, that might sound ridiculous, but here's a little bit about him. First of all, 6'9" on the bigger side, 250 pounds, 7'1" wingspan. None of that is that important because here's the big thing. He's a second-degree black belt with a 20-0 professional kickboxing record, and is a guy who I consistently see as like an example of this NBA player, if he had chosen to pursue more MMA fighting instead, maybe could have pursued a career in the UFC, but decided to go in the NBA. So, yeah, James Johnson, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone in the entire league who can actually beat him. He's got the all-around game.
I'm going to say I found someone. So, first of all, this guy, I'm going to tell you about him a little bit first. He's 6'9". He's 250 pounds. He has a 7'4" wingspan, so he's got the reach on James Johnson. He's a boxing fan. He uses boxing to train. And once he was asked what his best off-court attribute was, which he answered, my left hook. And this player is now a champion, and that player is David West. Now, David West is one of those players that you do not want to run into in a dark alley, as the great Jalen Rose has told us. Now, I agree, James Johnson is a good pick, but we've seen David West perform at a high level for a very long time. It took James Johnson a while to even make it into the NBA. Yes, maybe he worked hard, but David West is now a champion, so we've seen it at the highest level. So this one's a tough one. I'm not envious of you, Shaun, but who do you pick, James Johnson or David West?
Oh, man, I thought you had it locked up instantly with the James Johnson, and then coming in with the David West really threw me for a loop. So I think ultimately I'm going with James Johnson. But it's only because David West is just he's old. He's on the downside of his career at this point. He's old.
Yeah.
If this is prime David West, we're having a different conversation. But at this point, I mean, I have to go James Johnson. Like, that dude is just a beast. And as you mentioned, he's actually fought. Like, he has actual fighting experience. I would love to see someone like that get in the cage, actually, because that, again, the level of athlete. On average in the NBA compared to the UFC kind of gets the second tier, third tier athletes because most of them want to make the big money in the big sports like the baseball, basketball, football. To see like a A+ athlete like that in the UFC would be just amazing.
For the
I
record,
would
James
love to
Johnson was
see
once
that.
asked if there was any NBA player who could take him in a fight, and he said David West. So that's where this one comes from, just so you know. This is good, too. They're both 6'9", 250. Perfect comparison. I'd really like to see this one happen.
Let's do another heavyweight.
Yeah, one more heavyweight. All right, so yeah, the reality of the heavyweight division in the UFC, right, is that you don't see those 6'9" guys that often. You don't see too many skyscrapers like Steven Struve in that division. So
No, I mean the heavyweight champion right now is Daniel Cormier, who is maybe 5'10" on a good day.
yeah, exactly. So I think it was important for us also to get a couple of those stockier type of guys. Not quite. Guys who are a little bit shorter. So I mean, look, shorter for an NBA player. So the guy I'm going with still isn't short. He'd still be one of the bigger guys in that division. But yeah, this is a guy who I've trashed on this podcast before for his basketball ability, but not for his defensive ability, just for the fact that he possesses basically no offensive skill. He's 6'4", he's got a 6'9" wingspan. Again, it's exactly like Patrick Beverley. He's got this defensive scrappiness and amazing basketball IQ, reaction time, and I just think he'd be in the zone. He's a young guy, but he's got some playoff experience now with Boston. And of course, I'm talking about Marcus Smart.
That's a good pick. I will say, Marcus Smart, he'll get under your skin, and he's not afraid to bother you, but I got a shoe-in to win this one. And I will say this, and this only. PJ Tucker will never lose a fight to Marcus Smart. It just won't happen. He's bigger. He's 6'6".
Judge the man. Wait. Judge the man, Shaun.
I'm sorry, PJ Tucker wins.
Yes.
You can't just do that. You can't just introduce. You can't just keep winning because you pick Sun's favorites.
That's how it works.
No way. He's winning because PJ Tucker is not losing that fight.
You don't think so?
No
PJ
way.
Tucker is not losing that fight at all.
No way. He's got too much pride. He's
playing the 5 at this point in his career, and he's not even remotely tall enough to be able to do that. Like PJ Tucker is winning that fight.
Look, man,
100
I think
times.
Marcus Smart is an overrated basketball player. I think the only reason he's on a basketball court is because of these types of abilities. So I think putting him in a fight would be the perfect place for him. All I'm saying, I think it would be close.
Here's the deal, Sam. It's not that Marcus Smart would not be a good fighter. It's that PJ Tucker will not lose a fight to Marcus Smart, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, PJ Tucker will go, like, you will have to kill him. He will just continue to fight.
I can't believe we've gotten to a point on this podcast where I'm defending Marcus Smart. That's all I'll say. All right, it's tied up 2-2. How about one more will be the tiebreaker?
Yeah.
And I say for this one, let's just fuck divisions. Let's bring out 2 ridiculous guys, okay? So I'm going with Dragan Bender here, just because not because I think he would be good. I just think it would be interesting. And so 7'1", 7'2" wingspan, 230 pounds. He's a heavyweight, and I just think this would be funny. Who you got on your end, Mike?
Well, this is great because there's no Suns fan advantage in this one. Well, not necessarily, even though one of these guys is no longer a Suns player. But I'm choosing a 5'10", 160-pound player who is currently the smallest player in the NBA. He's got a 6'1" wingspan, and that player is Devin Booker's best friend, Tyler Ulis. And here's what I'll say. Yes, Tyler Ulis is the smallest person in the NBA, and yes, he's the closest to flyweights and maybe the only player in the NBA that could cut weight enough to be a flyweight, but there's no way in hell that Dragan Bender knows how to fight, and I know that he's Eastern European, but he's scared of everything. I'm pretty sure he's scared of the ball, he's scared to dunk. There's no way. Tyler Ulis, I saw him take on 4 guys in an elevator. He can take on 1 giant chicken, I'm pretty sure.
They were manhandling him. What do you mean take on 4 guys in an elevator?
There's 4 of them. There's 4 of them.
I mean, look, he got jumped.
This question is so inherently mean to poor Dragan Bender. Oh my goodness!
Are you saying what I think you're?
So okay. I'm gonna break this down like this, right? So I feel like the way this fight starts, they come out. It looks ridiculous. It looks like something out of UFC 1 just because of the different body types. Tyler Ulis gets inside. He does some dirty boxing inside the clinch because he has to close that distance. He has to make up that range. He starts roughing up Dragan. Dragan's not putting up much of a fight because it doesn't really seem like that's what he does. He doesn't really put up much of a fight for anything. But I think once you make Dragan bleed his own blood, maybe a switch hits. Right? Like when I don't remember who it was, but somebody got in his face in Summer League and then he blocked the shit out of him. in the next play. Like maybe if you're awakening the dragon and he starts feeling his own blood, tasting his own blood, he starts feeling a little mean, he starts getting a little into the fight, then he starts using his range, he starts using his size to just really outmuscle Tyler Eulis. I think Dragon Bender not only wins that fight, I think it then propels his self-confidence of having actually won a human contest against a human into just being all of a sudden he's like an MVP candidate because he's just so confident on the floor.
I love it.
All we need to do is lock the two of them into an elevator, and then we unlock the real dragon.
Just drop a contract in the middle of the elevator, and only one of you can get it.
One of you gets a 5-year, $158 million contract. That's how we'll motivate this team for the future.
I have a couple players I want to throw at you, and you just tell me how good you think they would be in the octagon. Now, the first one is Boban Marjanovic, who is the largest player in the NBA, one of the largest players ever in the NBA. He's 7 foot, 9. He's huge, but he's slow.
7'9". He's like 7'3".
He may as well be.
He's a giant. I'm pretty sure that he was in the movie Princess Bride. He has the ability of, he's slow. He can move his feet, though. I've seen him do it before. I'm not sure how capable he would be. What do you think, Shaun?
So I would have, like a month ago, I would have told you he would be a shit fighter, but I actually saw like a couple videos of him dancing, and he's not that bad. Like he can kind of move a little bit, which was shocking to me. So maybe he has the footwork and the agility to actually make this work. I think he might be a half decent fighter if he tried.
Are those his videos with Tobias Harris that you're talking about? Is that who that is?
Yeah.
How
Maybe,
awesome is that? Like
so.
such an unlikely partnership between Tobias Harris and Boban Marjanovic.
Yeah, it's inconceivable. The other one I want to throw it at you.
Well done.
Thank you. I have to do this one. LeBron James.
Oh, Jesus. I mean, he could have been the best fighter in the history of the world. Like he could have been the best at anything, really. But like if you take 12-year-old LeBron James and throw him into a wrestling class, a jiu-jitsu class, and a kickboxing class, and he just does that for the next 10 years of his life, and then all of a sudden shows up in the UFC as like this 22 or 23-year-old 240, 230-pound heavyweight, 6'8". Oh my God. Like he would still be champion at this point. Like he would be basically the best fighter in the history of the world. It would be unreal what that guy could do if he was actually trying to hurt a human opponent.
Shaun, there it is. That's the sensationalist quote that we're going to use to market this podcast to get hits.
Yep, perfect. We can put it on, we can aggregate it. Feel free to post it on MMAfighting.com. LeBron James would be the greatest fighter.
Thank you.
The last one, I have one last question for you. On the Suns roster, on the Phoenix Suns roster, who do you think would be the greatest MMA fighter of all the players currently on the Suns roster? And Jack Cooley doesn't count because clearly it would be Jack Cooley. But everyone else, who do you think it would be?
Oh, man, that's an interesting question.
Here, let's throw some people out. Let's throw some people out. First of all, I think Marquise Chris is an obvious answer because he's just beefy. He's like a massive dude, and it would be scary to fight.
He seems like he would be getting real mad, flail around a bit, and then get really gassed out. Like real quick. I don't feel like he would be that good.
That makes a lot of sense. Trevor Ariza, he's a veteran. He's been around for a long time. Tyson Chandler, he's a champion. He's huge. He's very strong. He keeps himself in good shape. And then, of course, there's the greatest athlete of them all. It's Devin Booker. He seems to be a guy who never gets tired. He constantly goes and goes and goes. And he's the type of guy that gives everything every single time he's out there. So, there's obviously more players on the team, but those are the guys that I thought of first.
Man, I wish Big Sauce was still on the team because I think he would probably be my answer. But if he's not, I think I'd have to lean towards Josh, just purely based on his willingness to like just stick in somebody's face and be real dirty and grimy. Mm-hmm. I think Josh, although I want to see more of Mikhail play because I feel like Mikhail might have that same type of mentality.
Wow, this is really great. I think we could do this more often. Picturing these guys in the octagon, it's pretty fun. And also that beatdown that I saw Josh Jackson give Eric Bledsoe in my mind earlier, it's going to satisfy me for a long. Yes, it was glorious, exactly. So, Shaun, I want to thank you so much for coming on. This has been really fun. I'm really glad that you're able to sort of cover the UFC and MMA the way that you do. And yes, I almost said the MMA again. I'm glad that you're able to do that and still follow the Phoenix Suns and the NBA the way you do, to be able to have a conversation like this about the NBA. It's super great. Now, do you have anything that you would like to plug?
No, I mean, I appreciate you guys having me. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the podcast. I basically spent half my life on our Suns, the Suns subreddit. So I guess plugs MMAfighting.com. If you need any kind of MMA source at all for anything, we have everything. Every Wednesday, I have a new show with Mr. Mark Raimondi, a good friend of mine. It's our live chat on every Wednesday. I think that's at 10 a.m. Phoenix time. And I guess follow me on Twitter, Shaun Al-Shatti.
Yes, and I will say, just Google Shaun Al-Shatti. That's Shaun, ShaunAl-Shatti, and you will find his page on MMAfighting.com. There's so many good long-form pieces. This is not the kind of journalism that a lot of people do. You guys need to go online and check these out. There's a lot of really, really great stuff there, so definitely Google him and check it out. Shaun, thank you so much for coming on. That's all we got. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at The Timeline Pod. Sam, you got anything?
Just one sort of last closing note. Again, since I haven't said anything about it yet, thanks, Shaun, so much for coming on. I just want to say I have never been a guy to use iTunes. I always use Google Play and Stitcher for all of my podcast listening. So I recently went onto our iTunes page for the first time 2 months after we've started this podcast, and was just amazed by the number of 5-star ratings and reviews that I've been seeing from you guys. So I just wanted to address that quickly now on the pod, since I recognize that we haven't in the past.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to the people who've been giving us those ratings and those reviews. Keep them coming if you like the pod, or if you don't, feel free to yell at us on Twitter anytime. And I think that about does it for this episode.
Yes, thank you everyone for listening. Once again, thank you to Shaun. I think this is a really great episode. I hope you guys have all enjoyed it.
Nobody builds 5G like Verizon builds 5G, because we're the engineers who built the most reliable network in America. And the more you do with 5G, the more building it right matters. The more your network matters. The more Verizon engineers going the extra mile matters. It's us pushing us. It's Verizon versus Verizon. 5G built right from America's most reliable network. Most reliable based on rankings from RootMetrics second half 2020 U.S. report of 3 mobile networks. Results may vary. Award is not an endorsement.